From our Chicago studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Samana Siddiqui. Our top story tonight. President Joe Biden's administration has announced the development of a comprehensive national strategy to combat Islamophobia in the United States. The move comes as the White House faces skepticism from many Americans due to the U.S. government's moral and military support for Israel's attacks in Gaza and occupied Palestine. Skeptics include Muslims and Arab Americans, Democrats on the left wing of the party, and young voters. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre emphasized Biden's commitment to eliminating hate in America. The development of this strategy has been anticipated for months, following a similar approach to a plan addressing anti-Semitism. She mentioned the recent tragic killing of a 6-year-old Palestinian-American Muslim boy in Plainfield, Illinois, who was allegedly stabbed to death by his landlord after he watched news of the latest escalation in the Israel-Palestine conflict. CNN, in the meanwhile, is reporting that several Muslim leaders from Minnesota have warned Biden that they will oppose his re-election since he declined to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. Biden won Minnesota with 1% of votes. The Karta Center is calling for an immediate ceasefire in the Israel-Palestine conflict. The human rights nonprofit was founded by former President Jimmy Carter and former First Lady Rosalynn Carter. President Carter has met Hamas leaders in the past and emphasized the need for a dialogue with Hamas. The organization emphasized that collective punishment and the targeting of civilians are violations of international law and insisted that the violence must cease immediately. The organization has also condemned the growing instances of anti-Semitism, Islamophobia, and anti-Palestinian sentiments. The Karta Center emphasized that a political solution recognizing the shared humanity of Israelis and Palestinians, respecting human rights, and promoting peaceful coexistence is the only viable path forward in this crisis. Students at elite universities such as Harvard, Yale, and Columbia are reporting fierce reprisals for speaking out for Palestinian rights. They are being accused of anti-Semitism for criticizing the latest Israeli attacks on Palestinians in Gaza and occupied Palestine. Experts believe that the current situation poses a challenge to free speech and academic freedom at universities across the country. The Senate recently condemned Palestinian student groups as anti-Semitic, while the Biden administration has ordered federal authorities to investigate such incidents on campus. Students insist that their peaceful campaigns for a ceasefire and their educational events are being unfairly targeted. They report harassment and threats against their future careers. In the last 2 weeks alone, the legal advocacy organization Palestine Legal has responded to more than 260 cases of repression in defense of Palestinian rights. An alarming twist is that their personal information is being published through digital posters accusing them of anti-Semitism. At New York University, law student Rina Workman was ousted as president of the school's Student Bar Association. As a result, she lost a job offer from the law firm Winston & Strawn after writing a newsletter expressing solidarity with Palestinians. At Cornell, Russell Rickford, an associate professor of history, took a leave of absence after being heavily criticized for comments he made after the October 7th Hamas attack. The New York Times also reports that several Wall Street financiers have approached elite Ivy League schools to wield influence over university policies and punish pro-Palestinian students. The White House has said that Hamas cannot be allowed to maintain control of Gaza after they attacked Israel. But National Security Council spokesperson John Kirby says Washington does not yet know who it would prefer to take the reins in Gaza. He says the U.S. is working with regional partners to come up with a plan. Kirby stressed that the next government must address the best interests and the aspirations of the people of Gaza. Kirby says there are many Palestinians who do not associate with Hamas. Germany has revoked the refugee status of a Palestinian refugee because of his activism for Palestine. Electrical engineer Zaid Abdel Nasser now faces a travel and work ban. Abdel Nasser is a member of the Palestinian advocacy group Samidun, an international network of activists who advocate for Palestinian prisoners in Israeli jails. The group organizes protests and other awareness campaigns. Germany has formally banned Samidun. The State Department said Wednesday it is in communication with 400 American nationals in Gaza who want to leave. Spokesman Matthew Miller told reporters the total number comes around 1,000. That includes their family members as well, who have expressed the desire to leave. Miller confirmed that an initial group of foreign nationals, including U.S. citizens, left Gaza through the Rafah border, crossing with Egypt. A Palestinian official said Wednesday that 335 foreign passport holders left Gaza via Rafah, crossing into Egypt. Israeli police attack Orthodox Jews. Details after the break, so stay tuned and we'll be right back. Welcome back. Israeli police on Wednesday attacked and arrested members of the Neturei Karta Orthodox Jewish group who tried to display Palestinian flags in Jerusalem. Footage released by the group shows moments of police pushing and hitting some Jews during their attempt to show support for the Palestinian people amid Israel's Gaza offensive. Neturei Karta is a group of Orthodox Jews which rejects Zionism and the establishment of the State of Israel. Palestinian groups have called for an end to Israeli crimes against prisoners after videos surfaced showing soldiers torturing prisoners in the West Bank, which is not ruled by Hamas. Videos have emerged on social media showing Israeli soldiers harassing, abusing, and torturing Palestinian prisoners in the occupied territories. A statement from the Prisoner Affairs Association said Israeli forces resort to threats of shooting, severe beatings, on-site examinations, death threats, and rape, and use police dogs to intimidate prisoners. They are also turned into human shields to crack down on demonstrators. The statement said that the Israeli occupation forces are openly committing these crimes and are supported by international powers. Tensions are high in the West Bank considering the massive Israeli military offensive against Gaza, which is blockaded. According to Palestinian figures, at least 130 Palestinians have been killed and 1,740 others arrested by the Israeli army since October 7th. An Israeli Likud party legislator has been criticized for her recent remarks calling for Gaza to be obliterated. After showing a 45-minute montage of the October 7th attack, Knesset member and former public diplomacy minister Galit Distal Atbarian posted on Facebook. She said Israeli officials must invest all their energy in one thing, wiping the entire Gaza Strip off the face of the earth. Atbarian's comments have raised concerns about the Israeli government's intentions regarding Gaza, with some interpreting them as genocidal. The lawmaker's remarks come amid an ongoing international debate over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and the role of Western countries, including the United States, in supporting Israel. Prominent figures, including former military and government officials, have also made controversial comments about Gaza in the past, further fueling the debate over Israel's actions in the region. Writer and organizer Fiona Edwards notes that despite public statements like Atbarian's, the U.S. and other Western governments continue to insist that Israel is the only democracy in the Middle East. Hundreds of demonstrators on Wednesday gathered in front of the UK government offices, urging visiting U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris to call for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza. The pro-Palestine rally came at a time when Harris visited Downing Street for a meeting with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. Harris was in London to attend an AI safety summit organized by the UK government. The protesters shouted pro-Palestine slogans and urged the vice president to act for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza, where more than 8,000 people were killed under heavy Israeli bombardments and land incursions. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is calling on Muslim countries to impose economic restrictions on Israel. Iranian media reports that Khamenei is asking states to cease oil and food exports to Israel till it stops the bombardment of Gaza. The country's leaders have warned Israel of an escalation if it does not end attacks against Palestinians. It says Tehran-backed proxies in the Middle East are ready to act. Israeli airstrikes in Gaza have killed at least 256 civilians in the past 24 hours. According to civilian rescue services in the besieged territory, 15 people were found dead in the rubble after an Israeli attack on the Bureish refugee camp. Another 27 people were killed in a separate bombing of a United Nations and Health Ministry school. According to authorities in Gaza, 195 people were killed and 120 missing in the Israeli bombing of the Jabalia refugee camp. Israeli airstrikes leveled another apartment block in the crowded Bureish refugee camp in the center of Gaza. It is home to some 46,000 Palestinian refugees registered with the United Nations. Meanwhile, fierce fighting between Israeli forces and Hamas fighters is taking place on the outskirts of Gaza City. Israeli media report the death of the commander of an armored brigade, Lieutenant Colonel Salman Habaka. He is the 18th Israeli soldier killed in heavy fighting in Gaza in the past 2 days. Since Tuesday, there have been repeated reports of close combat on at least 4 fronts. Israeli media claim that 20 Hamas fighters were also killed in the clashes. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, the Israeli offensive is hampering the delivery of humanitarian aid to some 300,000 displaced people. Civilian casualties have risen to 9,061, including 3,760 children. On the Israeli side, over 1,400 people have been killed, including more than 300 soldiers. Another 32,000 people have been injured, according to Safa news agency. The Israeli army says it has flown more than 12,000 airstrikes on Gaza since October 7th. Bahrain has severed its economic ties with Israel and recalled its ambassador from Tel Aviv. The move comes after Bahrain's parliament condemned the escalating aggression against Gaza. Saudi Arabia's King Salman and Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman have launched a national fundraising campaign for the Palestinians in Gaza through the King Salman Humanitarian Aid and Relief Center. The center announced that the King and Crown Prince have made substantial donations of about $13 million and approximately $5 million, respectively. That's all from our Chicago studios tonight. Thank you for tuning in. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell icon for the latest updates. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV or visit muslimnetwork.tv. Salam and good night.